The story begins from ancient times, from a time when no one remembers. Do you still remember? That story originated in an era about a human king who found a portal to another world. The story begins when the gate opens. At that moment, people panicked and ran away. They were all in fear of the magical creatures pouring out of the door. In itself, the world beyond the gate is not a paradise that brings happiness to humans but is a demon world, where hideous demons reign, with sharp fangs and huge bodies. They rushed into the human world like a flood, countless magical creatures poured out from the gate and the peaceful human world was soon destroyed. I don't know how many people died and everything was dyed crimson, corpses were lying all over the roads. And then, the king of mankind prayed earnestly to the gods. He raised his voice with sincerity in his heart, "O great God, please give us the strength to destroy these evil magical creatures." A miracle happened, a bright light appeared in the sky, and the monsters immediately turned into black ash and disappeared. From there, some people began to receive special sigils that gave them magical powers. People who possess the ability to confront those terrifying monsters are called magicians by the people. And just like that, peace was once again restored in the world. Will the story stop there? Not at all, but it is just the beginning of everything that is about to happen. People have never wondered in their minds, could it be that the person who answered the king's prayer back then was a god? There was a child who appeared in the ruins. A pair of feet ran hastily towards that ruined place. The young man stopped outside and looked inside the palace. His eyes contained confusion and confusion. Before his eyes was a boy with bright blonde hair, a small body but radiating a strange aura. That boy with light blue eyes and an expressionless face looked up at him without any emotion. Time passed by dozens of years. One evening with a full moon shining high above, a banquet was being held in a palace. Everyone is eating and drinking happily. An annoyed voice rang out, really annoyed. The girl with silky blonde hair was wearing a beautiful pink dress and a fur coat. Her voice was harsh. "You said this was a gathering of magicians. I wouldn't have come if I came to this place full of troublesome nobles." The girl walking behind said shyly, "You're too noisy, Arann. I heard that a black magician might appear, but it turned out to be a blatant lie." The brown-haired girl replied, "Surely there will be another chance." Arann replied angrily, "I'll just sing one song, okay? Okay, there's a warning about magical creatures in the Lupin forest. I heard that the convoy suffered heavy damage." Arann was even more frustrated after hearing this, but these annoying nobles were still holding a party. It was ridiculous. She sighed dejectedly in her mind, "I really want to meet the black magician." Arann approached the stage to prepare for the performance. Everyone was eagerly waiting below. I never thought I could hear Arann sing. People say her voice is like the song of heaven. I wonder if the rumors are true. Unexpectedly, she saw something strange. Everyone's faces changed color. Their faces were white and bloodless. She was bewildered and didn't understand anything. What's going on? The song hasn't even started yet. Why did everyone have such strange looks on their faces? She didn't know that behind her, a series of demons appeared, baring their teeth, waiting to rush inside and devour everyone. She was scared and slowly turned her head back. The scene behind her scared her so much that her legs could no longer stand. Cracks began to appear on the mirrors because the monsters tried to get inside. The last crack could not withstand the pressure from the monsters and shattered in the blink of an eye. What's going on? A monster reached out its long hand to grab her because she was standing closest. Her friend's scream rang out from behind. At this moment, a power with black light appeared. A young man carrying a magic stick narrowly saved her. The monsters were torn apart in an instant. Arann stood there dumbfounded, looking at the scene before her eyes without uttering a word. The blood of the monsters splattered everywhere. Perhaps her life will never be forgotten. The monster's hand was cut off and it screamed loudly. His eyes showed no pity as he continued to slaughter. Light gradually radiates from within. And boom, all the monsters were shot to pieces in less than 1 minute. Her whole body trembled, her lips trembled like a leaf, unable to speak normally. Arann, her friend, panicked and ran toward her, worried. "Oh my God, are you okay?" Arann seemed to wake up from a nightmare and slowly stood up. The stammering voice asked, "That person must be him. Orion's black magician." And yes, Arann guessed completely correctly, the black magician with black hair, standing on the bodies of the monsters. Black covered him from beginning to end, plus the black color of the sky mixed with a little light from the moon, making the scene even more magical. Even though it's dark, it can't hide the young man's incredibly handsome appearance. Arann kept looking into the distance and said, "It must be him, he is the black magician." The brown-haired girl said, "Arann must first take her to a safe place." When everyone hears the 3 words Black Magician, they already suspect something. Everyone started to stir. Is the Black Magician here? I've heard of him before. He came from a famous place called Opion. He was the one who saved countless lives that day. The Black Magician slowly walked inside the palace towards Arann. He spoke first. She was startled and asked back, "What's wrong? Are you injured anywhere?" Arann suddenly woke up and replied, "Oh, I'm fine." "That's good, even though it's not the right time, but..." She nervously listened to the Black Magician's words, her cheeks blushing slightly because she saw how handsome his face was. "Can I ask you a favor?" She nodded in agreement. Whatever was fine. He took out paper and pen from his shirt and spoke. "So can I get your autograph?" "What about my signature?" "Yes, please sign here. Is that all, plus your name?" One beautiful day appeared again. The scene changed to the academy. As soon as everyone saw the Black Magician, they took turns whispering to each other, "That's the Black Magician, really? Mr. Black Magician." He really wanted to face the ground when the eyes of everyone in the hallway looked at him like a monkey in the zoo. "I've thought about this all the time. But I really hate crowded places." He just finished his mission and returned. "I want to talk to him so much." A series of admiring eyes are all focused on him. "That's why I didn't want to go in this way." He tried to pull his hat to cover his whole face. A girl immediately recognized his true identity, blurted out about to say his real name, then suddenly remembered that she had to change it to Blow. He reflexively turned his head to look at the orange-haired girl calling him. She wondered, "What's wrong? Why are you leaving through the main door at this hour?" "Ms. Len," the two of them whispered to each other, "it must be the master. You came to report on the mission." "Yes, even though it was a boring mission." Len chuckled and replied, "In the end you did that task. What more could a weak person like me do?" "But what did she bring there?" When he pointed to the stack of papers in her hand, she was startled. She walked away and replied, "It's okay, I have to go first. Maybe the master is in the office already. Let's eat together later." As soon as she left, a piece of paper fell out from that folder. He carefully picked it up and returned it. "Sister Len dropped this." And what was in the paper shattered his reality. "Your precious master has made a propaganda form for everyone to entrust you with anything, and also included the contact method Ophion." Len was so scared that he dropped the entire stack of papers in his hand. She scratched her head. He absent-mindedly looked at the paper and asked, "This is the master's trick, right?" Len has a headache and doesn't know how to explain it. She had to smile brightly to get it over with. "I already objected, but the master still insisted on doing it." Before he could finish his sentence, he disappeared, leaving her stunned. Master over here is leisurely drinking tea. Life is extremely peaceful, everything is very comfortable and peaceful. He was sipping and enjoying a cup of tea and said, "The weather is so beautiful." As soon as he finished his sentence, there was a thud sound. The door to the room was kicked until it was broken. Who would come in as if they wanted to break the door like this? Before he could turn around, a piece of paper was thrown right in his face. He rubbed his head and then realized the other person was Blow. So he greeted with a bright smile, "You're here, otherwise I'll be waiting for you too." Seeing that he didn't respond, the master wondered, "But what's wrong with you? Did someone tease you on the way?" "The one who teased me was you," he shouted angrily. He looked at the paper in his hand. "Is this?" Without a single unnecessary move, he immediately threw it outside in an instant. The master gave a fake smile as if he didn't know anything. "I don't know where it flew off to." Too shameless, he angrily objected to the master's way of doing things. "Are you kidding me now? Wherever I go these days, the place is so noisy I can die." Not only did he force me to go in and out of Ophion like this, but now he also arbitrarily did such things without my permission. It was really embarrassing to the point that I didn't dare to raise my face. The master laughed teasingly at your reaction, "Mr. Blow, our Ophion superstar is a shy person." He angrily slammed the paper with Sarann's signature on the table. The master was stunned by his actions. He looked at the successful mission and smiled. "Oh, it was a success. Received Sarann's signature. You gave me a warning. This is the last time. Don't use the excuse of a mission to force me to do ridiculous, trivial things like this again. That's not possible." The master pointed at the pile of papers on the table with a regretful face and said, "Because there are still important tasks waiting for him, like finding Miss Ellen's lost owl, delivering Roan's heartfelt love letter." He grumpily shouted, "Please stop." "But you still got the autograph." "I heard that because of her slightly different personality, Miss Arann doesn't bother talking to people she doesn't know." He wondered and replied, "She doesn't look any different. Maybe it's because she was too panicked due to being attacked." "What an attack?" This sentence immediately attracted his attention. "Robbie, the place where Miss Arann operates is a safe area, isn't she supposed to encounter thieves? It's not a monster. Even though they're not very strong, isn't it strange that such a thing happened in Robbie where the tower was protected? Master sat down and turned his chair towards the table and said, yes, it is indeed strange, it seems we need to investigate more thoroughly. But in that situation, can you still ask for an autograph? He angrily shouted, who told me to do that? Master replied with a smile and asked, but how long are you going to use that form? Rude. Because someone always gives me weird missions, there's a surplus of magic power. Master laughed loudly at the childish irritation. Awakened, dispelled, around him began to radiate a green energy. The mark on his hand appeared accordingly. The name is Blow. Turns out it was just a disguise that he used magic power to create to avoid anyone recognizing his true identity. And his real name is not Blow but Rude. The master smiled and said, I haven't seen Rude for a few days but he seems to have grown a bit taller. So what? He replied nonchalantly. Seconds later, I suddenly realized I was caught up in a meaningless conversation. Is that so? I also asked for and brought my autograph, so now give me the proper task. He angrily banged on the table and shouted. Master just smiled and said nothing. He continued angrily, oh hey, finally, the master said in a serious tone this time, Rude. Since that day, not only ordinary people, but also many magicians have paid attention to you. In fact, the association Shicmun is enthusiastically looking for you. It will be more and more dangerous in the future. Things are different now, we're not worried about that. Rude angrily pulled out the advertisement and questioned him, but someone could still make something like this, the master said shyly, why is it still so? Putting all that aside, now will you give me the mission or not? Well, there really is an important mission here, he said with a sigh. This is an auction house held 3 times a year and where only rare and unusual items are traded, but we received information that in this auction, a magic stone with an identity appeared. High-class magic stones, yes, but the problem is other magicians also knew this information, which meant that Rude's mission this time would be much more difficult than before and he would face many people. Master smiled meaningfully, do you know what this means? This mission might be quite interesting. Then Rude also went outside. The master was inside looking at a file of documents. He hesitated then opened it to see what was inside. In the end, I didn't dare show him yet. If that kid saw this, you'll probably be mad, because inside is your acceptance letter. This school is called Helios Magic School. Rude quickly went to the auction that day, which took place in the evening. Everyone had gathered in large numbers backstage at this time. In front of everyone is a man who will preside over the auction and behind them are the guards. He raised his hand to signal the start of the auction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I've kept you waiting for a long time. He smiled meaningfully at everyone. Then the auction that everyone has been waiting for today is allowed to begin. Rude was now standing from above observing everyone in the hall. Len looked around and expressed admiration. It seems that Shazan's magic stone called Heart is really wonderful. Because it is a rare, high-level magic stone, Rude replied from the side. Len thought for a while then asked, it seems like a lot of magicians came, are you sure you're okay? Hey, black magician. Rude was quiet for a while and focused on finding the mission target. He was also a little worried, so his voice sounded a bit uncertain. Maybe it would be okay. In general, my purpose is different from those people, and the things related to the purpose are also different. It could be interesting to see. He blamed the master in his mind as he returned to the moment of being assigned the mission. At that time he asked, so what is the mission this time? The master replied thoughtfully, someone with a deep hatred for a character would appear at that auction house, so the request was to take revenge on the sufferer's behalf. Revenge, that's right, a certain evil magician ruined the life of the entruster, and wanted that magician to receive appropriate retribution. That was the content of the commission. After doing a little research, we discovered that the magician was a typical evil person who took advantage of the weak and deceived them. Up to now, not only 1 or 2 people had been hurt, but it seemed that they were circumventing the law very cleverly. The master began to explain the situation of the person Rude needed to target. He picked up the information sheet to read and had questions. But this magician is not an easy person to deal with, right? The reason you asked is because his official level as a magician is level 3. That's why I told you. Rude was concerned and asked back, it wasn't a request to kill him. The master shook his head and replied, of course not, death is too gentle for such evil people. So what is it? When high-level magic stones appear, many people will gather, whether they are participating in the auction audience or have other purposes. Then you need to prioritize finding that bastard, the master replied thoughtfully. In such a crowded place, the master smiled meaningfully. After grabbing him, Rude was nervous to hear what kind of punishment the master would give, whether it was breaking his limbs, or cruel torture and abuse. But no, the master said in a very serious voice, but the punishment shocked everyone. He took off his pants. The atmosphere immediately fell into silence. What? Rude asked in bewilderment. Master seriously replied, it's okay to take off his pants. Rude angrily tore the paper in his hand and refused to do it. Master was so panicked and quickly explained, oh why, I didn't tell you to kill him, it's just taking off his pants. No, but why did you suddenly take off your pants like that? What kind of revenge is that? The master can only coax the disciple. That's what the entruster wants. Calm down and listen to me. According to what the trustee provided, there were rumors that that guy was a member of Kotal. Rude seemed to think of something and asked again, isn't Kotal a criminal group that has disappeared a long time ago? That's right, at that time it was announced that the organization had been wiped out. Considering that there was a big reward for their capture later on, some of them must have escaped. Layden, who opened this auction house, has a deep hatred for Kotal, and I heard that Kotal members have a tradition of tattooing their alliance symbol on their legs with Ruman's poison, and there is information that no matter what they do, it cannot be removed. If that symbol is made public in a place where many people pay attention, then... Master smiled sinisterly, that's also a pretty good way to get revenge. Extremely convincing words that go straight to the heart of the master. Of course, Rude looked suspiciously at the schemer in front of him. He asked further, but that was just a rumor, what if he took it off without the symbol? The master calmly replied, wouldn't that be revenge? Losing his pants in front of so many people would be embarrassing. Rude bluntly walked away without paying attention. I won't do it. A master like you can only hold his leg and beg, don't. This is something that only Ophion's superstar can do. Back to the current situation. He was present at the auction hall. Len saw that his face was not okay and asked softly, are you really okay? Anyway, it will be okay, it's okay. On the other side, there was a giggle. A little girl with blonde hair and green eyes grinned, her heart was pounding, there were so many people. The young man behind her pulled her back so she wouldn't rush off the railing or fall. Our princess didn't come here to play, she just came here to observe. The princess smiled happily and replied, yes, observe, something very interesting could happen. Isn't that right, Tessy? She turned her head and said to a person sitting nearby who was leaning against the gate with long blue hair. But the other girl seemed to be sleeping, so she didn't care about anyone. Sir Tessiana, she was already asleep. A glass of water in a man's hand is shaking. Lapis, the name of another young man with short hair who from his clothes seemed to also be a noble. His body immediately stiffened. The man reminded him, concentrate and observe carefully. With so many magicians gathering like this, there would definitely be something worth observing. Lapis clenched her fists extremely tensely. There was also concern in his tone. Yes, father. A leaf from nowhere is slowly falling. Another leaf fell again. The man with two cat-like ears reminded his companion, look Shick. Our mission this time is to protect the magic stone to the end, you know, right? Even though we said it, the mission is to protect, not destroy. Are you listening? A red-haired young man was holding a branch with a few green leaves on it, muttering in his mouth and plucking each leaf. Come, don't come. He kept busy, focusing on his work. The cat-eared guy was so angry that his blood boiled and he couldn't hold it in anymore. He shouted angrily, hey Shick. At this point Shick reacted a little angrily and replied, too much noise filled with old men. Who are you calling an old man? Repeat again, our mission is to protect. Suddenly, when he reached the last leaf, he stopped. He stopped for a moment and didn't pick it up anymore. He threw the branch to the ground. Then stomped on tree branches. He smiled with satisfaction. It turned out that the last leaf he counted was coming. Down in the hall right now, the auctioneer is selling each item one by one, so congratulations on this noble leet necklace, which belongs to that beautiful lady over there. Everyone, today's main character finally appears. Surely everyone here knows this. But this is a truly precious item that is difficult to obtain. A high-grade magic stone filled with the power of the great Shazerno. It was Shazan's heart. As soon as the stone was removed from the white towel, its light shone everywhere. Everyone inside had to look up in admiration. The host continuously gives invitations. Look at this sparkling light. Everyone can feel its great power just by looking at it, right? The opportunity to become the owner of this powerful magic stone is right in front of everyone. Len asked, Rude, how are you? Have you seen the target yet? Rude replied bewilderedly, no, I can't see very clearly." The fire assistant turned to look at him in confusion. "What?" Rude with an honest face replied, "Really, it's because everyone's auras were mixed together. Maybe he had something to do today so he couldn't come." Len shook his head and replied, "Don't deny reality anymore." Rude sighed, "Then I have to prepare gradually." He pulled the curtain slightly to avoid everyone's eyes. The blue light appeared again. "My name is Blow, the power of magic appears." So he used the identity of Blow again. Len stood behind the curtain and clicked his tongue. "Honestly, every time I see him, I feel so magical. A shape-shifting magician like you is really rare. How can a child being able to turn into such a cool guy like this?" The dark magician in the world is rumored to be preparing to go on stage. After hearing that, Rude grumpily replied, "Sorry, I'm a child." Len chuckled and replied, "Oh my gosh, just kidding." She opened the curtain and asked how her magic was. Rude replied, "It's enough, but..." While speaking, he suddenly turned to the outside of the hall and said, "Here." She was stunned and didn't understand what was going on. The crashing sound echoed throughout the hall, scaring everyone. The soldiers quickly retreated and no one dared to make a move. A blonde-haired man was now holding a sharp knife against the auctioneer's neck to threaten, "Everyone should quickly get away." He and his accomplices laughed cheerfully with the intention of appropriating the magic stone. "It's ours," his laughter echoed throughout the auditorium. "What is this? Who are those guys?" Len frowned in confusion. The soldiers continuously threatened the man, quickly put down his sword and then backed away immediately. Instead of being scared, the man instead laughed even more happily. "Hey, he had to put down his sword. It was you who were right." After speaking, he immediately released the magic in his body, sending several ordinary soldiers flying away. The soldiers were constantly dizzy, feeling as if a hammer had hit their heads. Then a strange white light appeared, blinding everyone's eyes. The man next to me took action. The knife was like a moon-shaped crescent, rotating in a circle and stabbing straight into the stomachs of all the people there. After it flew around for a while, it immediately returned to its owner's hand. Seeing that there was no longer any danger, the blonde immediately let go of the auctioneer's hand. The evil eyes and words filled with danger curled the lips, so boring that I no longer had the patience to wait anymore. "So for now, let us confiscate this magic stone." After saying that, he turned his arm around and tried to reach out to steal the stone. The beast man suddenly appeared and grabbed his wrist, not letting him touch it. He was immediately stunned by the action. His voice trembled slightly and he asked, "What are you?" With just one twist of his wrist, the other man's wrist was immediately broken in half, sharp pain transmitted straight to his body. He screamed loudly and sat down on the ground screaming, "You, that cape, are you a magician of the association?" Everyone immediately started talking loudly, "Who is that? Who is that?" "There's a famous magician who has animal ears and tails." One of them immediately recognized who the other person was and remembered. The association's central dog, Lannis Dog. Being called a dog made him foam at the mouth. He yelled and cursed at the people standing below, "Hey, who the hell called me a dog?" The blonde man's accomplice gritted his teeth, "Those bastards were so cruel." Having finished speaking, he threw the knife filled with magical power forward and died. Unexpectedly, that knife not only did not make him happy, but only hit his head and shot out. The other two men's faces were pale as if they were anemic. The knife spun around and hit the door in the distance. The central dog has turned on the angry mode at this time. "Hey brother. It hurts." 2 words of discomfort were clearly visible on his face. The other two were so scared right now that they didn't dare to scream. Len stood up here looking down and smiled. "What is that? I'm still saying why this association full of puppets also has people hiding their profession. But the magicians of the association are also here. I'm quite surprised, those nobles pretending to be noble. Ren, listen carefully, that person is the magician who was with that guy that day." After speaking, he tightened his hat to try to cover his face. Ren listened as if he suddenly realized something. The other 2 men were beaten until their faces were bruised. The central dog loudly announced, "All the magicians present here, please listen carefully. I understand how excited everyone is when a high-level magic stone appears after a long time, but if you do something too aggressive, you won't get good results. So please wait patiently until the auction ends, okay? From now on, anyone who touches or has suspicious intentions with magic stones will have to face me in an unpleasant situation." I made sure everyone understood, so I asked for permission. As soon as I finished speaking, I turned around and saw the stone fly away. "Has the magic stone disappeared?" the angry guy thought. One person now pointed to the head of a statue with a man holding the stone. The middle dog shouted angrily, "Hey kid, Shicmun, what are you doing?" That guy didn't seem to care what his teammate said but smiled with satisfaction as if he had found his prey. He felt it, I felt it, that guy was clearly here. The two people below did not understand what was happening to this crazy man. Suddenly, Shic raised his head high and shouted loudly, "Hey black dog, your goal is also this, right? If you want to take it anywhere, come here and rob it. If you don't show up, I'll eat it." The magicians and nobles below knew they couldn't compete with this guy, so they whispered loudly and asked each other, "Who is the black dog, the Shicmun of the association? What will be the fate of the magic stone?" After listening, Ren turned around and smiled and asked, "Blow, the black dog that person said could have been you." Blow's tense face seemed to say it all. Ren said shyly, "This has become more complicated than I thought. Looking at the situation, I don't think things will end easily if the two of them meet. Since things have become like that, wouldn't it be better if we ran away? With your stubborn personality, you are determined not to give up. No, we cannot give up the mission just because of that dust-like name." "Stardust will harm the Buddha," Blow replied firmly. Ren could only sigh, "Yes, but it will be fine no matter what." Everyone standing below whispered, "I was looking forward to this because I heard that it was a high-level magic stone that had only appeared in recent years, but that was Shicmun, so I lost all motivation to attack. There should only be one or two magicians. Wouldn't it be a good idea for everyone to attack together? Don't talk nonsense, the class is completely different from ours, that person is a Shicmun of the association. I wonder what would happen if he fought with a black magician. Would any crazy person attack Shicmun?" As soon as she finished speaking, Tessy did not care who the opponent was and resolutely rushed forward. The other two were immediately stunned. The commotion grew louder. Seeing the black dog determined not to appear. He smirked, "That's right, you're definitely not scared. Are you trying to play hide and seek?" The middle dog shouted angrily. Shic stopped being crazy and came down here quickly. Shic said angrily, "Old man, you go back, you're blocking me. Hey, do you really want to taste hell?" Whoosh sound. The crashing sound surprised both of them immediately. Someone slashed the statue in half. The statue quickly fell down according to physical momentum. The dog asked in bewilderment, "What is this and what is it?" The statue fell down, damaging the entire floor of the hall. The hall quickly became a mess. In the dust and smoke, a proud silhouette of a girl appeared. That was Tessy. She held the sword firmly in her hand, her eyes without any fear as she decisively declared war. The dog asked in surprise, "Hey, why did you do this?" She replied with a cold tone, "I came to participate in the auction legally. I also brought 1 silver coin." Trung Dog thought helplessly, "What can you do with just 1 silver coin?" She lightly glanced up at the crazy Shic. "But you hindered me." He arrogantly replied, "No way, it was you who was obstructing." This crazy girl. The two looked at each other angrily with bullet-shaped eyes. And then without saying anything, everyone could understand that a fight had happened. The fight between the two was so dusty that nothing could be seen. The two of them rushed at each other like two angry lions. Tessy's speed and tricks are both very fast and vicious. In just a few moments, the girl repeatedly attacked Shic while Shic took a backward stance. She aimed straight at Shic's head, preparing to land a blow. Very quickly, he was able to grasp her sword tightly with just 2 fingers. Shic's eyes were filled with murderous intent and angrily said, "Why, you guys who don't even know what the problem is, just like to sneak out." Then it made me so angry. His hand now showed the power of magic. Without any hesitation, Tessy launched a straight shot. The terrible pressure caused Tessy to be shot straight into the wall behind, causing it to collapse in the blink of an eye. The hall was extremely chaotic at this time because the two people were fighting, which made it even more chaotic. Everyone was dumbfounded watching the two fight. It seemed like the girl would surrender, but hidden behind the thick layer of dust was the silhouette of an unyielding swordsman. Her sword stabbed straight into the ground, her voice gradually changed, "My name is Tessiana." Shic glared at her, awakening her power. The magic around her and her pupils began to shine brightly, illuminating the entire room. Shic replied contemptuously, "Do you think that waking up will change anything?" The cold voice has now been replaced with anger. "You prepare yourself." She immediately rushed forward without faltering. This time all the stats from speed to fighting skills have increased dramatically. The little princess stood to the side, watching the dramatic fight and laughing with delight. "Look, Tessy has awakened, so cool, the coolest on earth." The young man next to him nervously pushed his glasses and said, "Princess, now I think we should go back." The princess pouted and wanted to continue watching, saying, "I don't want to," he continued, "because the person I brought to protect the princess, Tessy, is in such a state, so it has to be done. Otherwise, if we sneak out, if something happens to the princess, my head will leave her." Although the princess tried very hard to stay, he said sternly, "We should go back first." Before something more noisy happened, the fight between the two people had already affected the hall a lot. Everyone gradually panicked and began to lose their composure and push each other. It was extremely chaotic. Everyone quickly evacuated. "What is this all about? Where has the magic stone gone?" Obviously I saw it falling this way, in such a tight crowd. Suddenly a man put his hand on a girl's shoulder, startling her. At this time, the central dog also had to jostle in the crowd until he was tired and out of breath. Avoid. He looked sideways to find, damn, this shit kid, if he was going to fight, would it be okay to give him the magic stone first before fighting? Where did it end up? Hidden in the crowd right now is a person wearing a black cloak slowly approaching the target. No need to say who it is. Rude is currently quietly observing this mission's target. He observed the situation around him. There seemed to be quite a few people. Although everyone was concerned about the magic stone, this chaotic time was the best opportunity. He was currently plotting a plan. How to make everyone see the symbol on his leg as naturally as possible, is the only way is to take down his pants. Don't think twice, there must be another way. Why do I have to worry about this? Damn the master, you're the president and want to vomit blood. The crowd was still busy looking for the magic stone. He lightly glanced at the guy next to him and thought of an idea. He called him closer and whispered loudly, "I see that person in purple over there hid the magic stone." He asked suspiciously, "What, are you talking about that guy laughing over there?" "Yes, at first glance, it seems like he hid it in his pants." Without any hesitation, he was already excited, so he immediately grabbed that guy and shouted, "That guy, have you hidden the magic stone?" "What magic stone? Do you say that guy hid the magic stone? Capture him." It was not unexpected that everyone rushed to that guy's place to find out. Blow found it a bit unreal that this plan was successful. That guy of course couldn't help but attack the opponent. He said angrily, "What an accident. How did you bastards realize that? Damn it, who was it that ruined his good deeds?" As expected, it was that guy. Blow guessed it and got it right. He really was holding the magic stone. He intended to use magic to escape. Once he fell into my hands, no one could hope to take it away. My name is Cloak. Awakened, so he immediately awakened his magic on the spot. He laughed madly, spinning the ball of power in his hand. "Listen you bastards, the magic stone is in your hands, who dares to dream of it? Then I'll finish the salad," and after saying that, he threw some magic balls forward. This couldn't happen, so Blow, a black magician, had no other choice but had to step in and intervene. He immediately cut the 3 balls in half. Then quickly rushed towards him and attacked to suppress him. He quickly threw away the sword in his hand as fast as lightning. The sword quickly left his hand and stabbed into the ground. Before he could react, Blow pointed his sword at him with sharp eyes and a cold voice, accompanied by a slight smile. "It seems difficult." Sure enough, as soon as Blow used his power, Shik caught his scent. He immediately stopped fighting with the girl in front. Tessy took the opportunity of his inattention. Immediately rushed forward to attack. Cloak was frightened by Blow and fell to the ground. When everyone saw that black magic power, they immediately started whispering. A central dog standing in a crowd can easily recognize who the opponent is. And that person is a very popular topic in the world of magicians and black magicians. That guy tries his best to hold on to the magic stone and refuses to hand it over. "I absolutely will not hand over the magic stone, this is mine," he smirked and asked, "Why is that yours?" "Anyway, my goal is not a magic stone." A loud explosion occurred. Blow quickly turned around. Before his eyes was a rich source of red magic power shooting towards him, accompanied by a sharp sword pointed straight at him. He was startled and stepped back. Then from right there, a gust of wind came at lightning speed. He just had time to see the speed of that person rushing towards him. Shik quickly grabbed his collar. Then he smiled mischievously and said hello. "Black Dog, this move of yours ended up revealing your own identity." Blow wasn't surprised at all when he was caught by Shik like this. As a result, the energy from Shik spread more and more, causing the destructive power to create a huge explosion. Everyone was scared by the explosion and ran for their lives. Only Tessy is still kneeling because she lost so humiliatingly. The others were scared and backed away. She cursed furiously in her heart, it really hurt. The sword was also thrown away, she punched the ground hard and said with bitterness. So she resolutely raised her head to remember this pleasure, but next time. I absolutely won't lose. Around her is the ground that has been cracked due to the strong impact of the recent scuffle. The cloak name is also running wildly to keep his life and the stone in his hand. He ran away at all costs and rushed forward, the magic stone is mine. Seeing him run away, he also dragged many people chasing behind him. That guy stopped, holding the magic stone and still wanted to run away. You brats, he cursed and continuously created spheres. Then throw it towards the guys behind to block their path. Small explosions were continuously created. He smirked because he thought he had succeeded, the weak people had disappeared, but he did not know that there was a strong person standing behind him, waiting for him, the cloak magician. Are you thinking that there are only magicians weaker than you in this place? A guy suddenly appeared from behind. One punch caused him to step back. Accompanied by that, many other magicians, both boys and girls, rushed out at the same time. He was now surrounded on all sides by many powerful magicians. He gritted his teeth and couldn't stand it. As for this side, it's equally chaotic, it's the Black Magician and Shicmun are fighting, all the people eating melons are watching the crowd in awe. Lapis stood high up, her heart pounding because she witnessed this unique scene, the Black Magician and Shicmun. I'd rather do it. Then he was afraid that the building would soon collapse because of this fight, so he turned around. I was about to call Dad when I saw that the seat next to me had been empty for some time. He bewilderedly asked his bodyguard, "Where is my father Loon? You guys have already left this place." So, to ensure his strength, he also planned to sneak out first. It would be safer if I also left here now. But his curiosity and pounding heart hindered his steps, as if there was a magical power urging him to stay to watch the match between powerful magicians. Ren above is currently in a mess. How did it end up like this? Ren frowned and thought, we didn't consider Shicmun, no the association would appear here, plus, because this mission was not high risk, I didn't bring any magic balls to replenish magic power, the more time it took, the more disadvantageous it would be for the blow. The more you think about it, the more confused it becomes. What are you planning to do now? Below the match, both sides were burning with demonic energy. Blow spoke first, breaking the silent atmosphere. I clearly said I didn't want to fight with them. Shicmun smirked, so? Blow replied, yes, first of all, my goal is not the magic stone, and your goal is not to protect the magic stone until the auction ends. This is my guess based on what your colleague said just now. The other colleague on the side heard that and was speechless. Blow continued, so let's just take care of that person's business, and forget it. Blow looked up at the magic circle on Shicmun's head, that stupid magic circle. But Shicmun refused with a tone that was worth hitting. He didn't like it, making Blow choke on his words. Shicmun spoke, whether your purpose is the magic stone or not, it has nothing to do with it. His magic flared up even stronger. After that day I spent a lot of effort to find you, but Ophion quickly hid you as if you were a treasure, so I searched all the places where missions or incidents might take place where you might appear. But I still don't see you anywhere. Hearing that, Blow's face became even more gloomy, because lately I've been forced to ask for autographs or take off people's pants, great uncle. Shicmun slowly lifted his foot, the ground below began to crack a few times, and now. Shicmun was excited and quickly rushed forward to attack. You are right in front of me. Shicmun attacked with magic, promptly using his staff to block the attack. Shicmun got even more excited, so, let me see it again. Thinking back to that time, that appearance gave me goosebumps that day. While fighting, Shicmun creates a large enough magic ball in his hand. Shicmun continued, before I killed you, magic was released, creating a huge explosion, and the rock layer was also destroyed. Everyone around was scared and screaming in panic at the possibility of the tower collapsing. Collapsing. Someone screamed when a large rock flew towards them. Fortunately, that rock was beaten to pieces. It's the middle dog who saved a few people from danger. The central dog silently scolded in his heart, that shit kid, are you planning to destroy this whole place? Looking at that mouth, I can see that he is too excited. The middle dog frowned angrily, the auction became so chaotic, I had to at least recover the magic stone so I could have an excuse. On the other side, Cloak is trying to fight back against that magician. Cloak frowned and glanced to the other side then got angry. What is that? What are you guys doing? Several other magicians all rushed to attack Cloak, handing over the magic stone. Where did you hide the magic stone? Cloak was confused and wanted to stop. wait, the current situation. Several magicians all punched the ground where Cloak stood. Cloak quickly jumped up to dodge the attack. These guys, damn. Suddenly a guy shouted loudly, pants. He pointed at the Cloak, in that guy's pants, the magic stone in his pants. Cloak was even more panicked. What are you talking nonsense? But the magicians stared at the Cloak without any doubt, their eyes extremely strange. Cloak stepped back in panic. No, it's not there, you crazy people, don't come close to me. In the battle on the other side, there was only one shadowy figure in the hazy smoke. That person tightly grasped the fluttering scarf in his hand. Shic looked at that scarf without saying a word. But he didn't pay attention, another figure was upstairs silently observing below. Suddenly, two young ladies looked at that figure in surprise without saying a word. Blow raised his hand to shush and then whispered in a low voice, everyone go out quickly, this place is very dangerous. The other two ladies also obeyed and slowly left there in silence. Blow sat on the doorstep in confusion. Who did he want to kill? Who was he acting funny for? Why should I waste my magic on this useless war? Suddenly I realized, wait, thinking back, after that day, my master completely assigned me some strange tasks. The reason was all because of that guy, huh? He looked around, almost everyone had left, the mission was considered a failure. I turned my attention to Shic again, but I should at least check to see if he has an icon. Shic's eyes became darker. If you don't have the motivation to fight, then I will create one for you. He looked around at this scene of carnage, thinking back, this place had too many hindering factors. The more I talk, the stronger Shic's magic becomes. If I clean up all this trash, it will probably change your mind. Then, suddenly, there was a whistling sound of wind. Everyone around was scared. What? They all looked up at the ceiling. Seeing clearly, a giant magic circle appeared. Finally, the cracking sound began to sound. Cloak ran away and looked up at the ceiling. He felt even more frightened. What was the debt? But unfortunately those magicians only focused on catching Cloak. Stop quickly, Cloak also shouted. These crazy guys too, look up there. Cloak glanced at those crazy guys. Don't they care about that, even so if I keep running away like this? But suddenly the Cloak was blown back without him having time to turn around and he fell to the ground. Blow frowned and reminded everyone to leave here quickly. Those people were all stunned. Black magician. Blow reminded again, if you value your life more than the magic stone, then you better leave here now. Blow glanced over again, because of this place. Likely it would collapse at any moment, he looked up at the huge magic circle. At this moment, the central dog ran over and called out to the crazy, stone guy who forgot his life. He grabbed the other guy's shoulder in a desperate attempt to stop him. What are you doing? Stop now, can't you see there's still someone else here? Do you want to kill everyone here or something? But the medium dog's words are like water off a duck's back. Shic basically doesn't hear a word of it and just ponders. Ren saw that the situation was now out of control, completely turning into a mess. So she tried to run away on all fours. Where is Blow? If we find him, we have to leave this place with the teleportation scroll right away. Come play with me. Blow has to be on high alert right now with a guy like this who doesn't listen to reason. He rushed forward to continue attacking. Blow's job is to run away so as not to waste his energy on a useless war. While running away, he appeared right in front of him, but at that moment, something strange happened. That feeling covers the entire space that only two people can feel. That feeling quickly disappeared as if it had never appeared. The two quickly landed to observe the surrounding situation. He discovered something strange. Just for a fleeting moment, the magic power he had condensed suddenly disappeared. The middle dog now quickly ran towards Shic, the name of his kid. Suddenly, a light appeared from the opposite side. Matrix suddenly appeared below the ground. In turn, it spread out its array to cover the entire hall. Just like that, the number of magic circles increased rapidly. Everyone in the hall was surprised and didn't understand what was going on. From those matrix circles, something slowly emerged. Hideous monsters with glowing eyes slowly rose up. Everyone was scared and immediately ran away. Lapis and Loon were also panicking. Where did that thing come from? From the magic circle that appeared on the floor. Needless to say, I already knew it. The monster in turn extended its giant tentacle towards everyone. Lapis couldn't sit still and watch anymore, so she ordered Loon, Loon, give me the sword. Are you planning to fight? I won't stop you, but I know that with my ability I can't do anything but. His eyes were filled with worry as he looked towards the monster that was about to destroy the whole place. He decided to fight to protect everyone, rather than stand still like an idiot. He rushed out to protect the two of you. Don't worry, I will. Before it could shine for a few seconds, the monster threw it away and flew several meters away. It's better to stand still and be okay, jump in and entertain the world. Loon had no choice but to jump up to catch the stupid guy. She looked at the monster in front of her and asked a question. It was an ugly jellyfish. Or the giant squid, it has many eyes and sharp teeth. So she decided to summon the treasure, the bow and arrow. She muttered to herself, what is that thing, then raised her bow and got ready to shoot. With a bang, the monster was hit and screamed in pain. The central dog was now surprised by this strange scene. I'm wondering, is it a summoning circle? Blow next to me wondered, it's called a summoning circle. The medium was equally surprised when he saw the magician, it seemed like that. Are there even magicians who can summon demons? Well, as far as I know, there aren't any. Blow felt that this matter was extremely unreasonable, so in the end, who could summon not just one or two but countless things like that in this place? Ren also found Blow and quickly called. Blow turned around and asked, didn't I tell her to leave first? What did you say? How could I carelessly leave alone? The central dog turned around in bewilderment, not understanding anything. Is she a colleague from Ophion's side? She's not a magician. I was about to turn around and call Shick. Then the other guy gave the monster behind an explosion, causing it to disappear on the spot. The dog saw that he did poorly and asked, where is the magic stone? He said with a gloomy face, he didn't have it. Why did you throw it away? You were still holding it just now. Shick bewilderedly remembered the feeling just now. Mouth mumbling, gone. Ren now suggested, hey Blow, use the teleportation scroll to quickly leave this crazy place. However, as soon as Shick heard that the black magician was planning to leave, he couldn't leave so easily. He rushed forward, intending to attack. Blow reflexively pointed his sword to defend and dodged like before. Shick threatened, have I let you go yet? Ren also wanted to be speechless about where this crazy guy came from. What else could he do in this situation? She screamed softly, hey, try stopping your colleague. At this moment, he discovered that magic power did not disappear. He was a bit confused in his mind. Was it just a temporary phenomenon? He frowned and asked, Shicmun, you also felt it, right, just now? You're talking about magic power disappearing. Yes, I know it wasn't your doing, and there's something very strange about those monsters. So now is not the time for you and me to leisurely fight. But Shick stubbornly doesn't care. His will is even stronger when there is a dark magician in front of him like this. The central dog couldn't stand still anymore, so he jumped in to stop it. Ren gasped in surprise. Even the black magician's eyes widened in surprise. Stop it now, Shick. A boy who is too stubborn is not attractive at all. He stopped Shick with a serious face. But after hearing this, Ren looked stupid, and if chaos like this happens, the tower's magicians will arrive soon. You know that facing those people won't be good. Blow thought to himself, only using his body to block the attack. The central dog tried to persuade him, so we should leave quickly. But that guy with such a bad brain this season, he can't understand anything. If you old man gets in the way, I won't show any mercy. Are you crazy? Blow thought dejectedly. Ren said impatiently, that's what I was about to say. If the tower's magician comes, things will be very troublesome, so hurry up. Ms. Ren was behind her. While she was busy talking, the monster's tentacles hit her back and she didn't have time to react. Luckily, Lapis rushed forward like a god. Then stabbed hard into the monster's tentacles. The monster was stabbed and screamed in pain. Lapis quickly asked, are you okay? She quickly turned around to look at the situation. But it seems that the person who is currently having problems is not her but him. He is the one who seems to be in trouble. The monster is using its tentacles to try to pull him away from its body. Loon asked, my lord, I'm here to help you, why do you still have to ask? Before he could do anything, the black magician gave it a sword attack to destroy it. Lapis's body also lost momentum and fell to the ground. Ren, are you okay? He asked worriedly. Blow thought to himself, this is the lowest level monster, the kind without a core or intelligence. In the end, he still hasn't figured out who did this. Loon held out her hand to help you up. Sir, are you okay? Right now Lapis is busy looking at the powerful magicians. On one side is the black magician. On the one hand, the medium dog is trying to hold Shick back. His heart was pounding when in front of him were legendary magicians. Blow now glanced slightly back to look. Seeing Cloak lying on the ground like a corpse. He sighed in frustration, still unable to confirm the information. Ren on the side angrily shouted his name. Seriously, forget this nonsense mission, no wonder I feel so uneasy today. It was smart to bring this. In her hand was a teleportation paper. Great, Ms. Wren, go ahead and avoid him. Seeing that he was still stubborn about his mission, she was so angry that she was foaming at the mouth. What, you were going to take down his pants at this time? After Loon and Lapis listened, they were speechless and didn't understand anything. He quickly explained, it's not like that, because the monsters haven't been destroyed yet and there are still many people here. Me too, don't worry, the tower will handle it on its own, they are experts in handling these things, but now let's go. So she conveniently called Lapis beside her. It's fine as a way to repay the favor of saving lives, but what do you think if we leave here together, because this teleportation shaft can carry 4 people. When Lapis heard the words together, he was very excited. Seeing that he didn't say anything, she was about to retreat. Of course if he didn't want to, he quickly shook his head. No, I would really appreciate it if you did that. Loon wondered in her mind, we also have teleportation books. Only the middle dog on this side is extremely miserable. Just thinking about reporting this makes my head hurt. Hey Shick, because of you and me, Shick should have been grateful seeing this scene but he didn't. He turned his head back to bump his head against the other man's forehead, wanting him to let go of him. On this side, Ren begins to move. The location is where we want to go, the condition is that they touch. Blow held out his hand and said, hold my hand, oh yes. But everyone didn't notice that there was a crazy man who was extremely angry nearby. He furiously looked at Blow with anger because he was not convinced. Why did you run away like that? Where did that arrogant guy disappear to? This aura made Lapis shiver all over. Lapis quickly said, Mr. Black Magician, that magician over there glaring at him looks so scary, there's no need to worry, he's probably playing a blind game alone. Seeing that he was getting more and more tense, he quickly said, Ms. Wren, I need to concentrate, so could you please not start a conversation? Shick was about to rush in to stop Blow from leaving. Do you think I will let you go that easily? That damn black dog, he screamed very loudly. The matrix above the monsters' heads was also about to collapse. At the moment when everything hangs in the balance, everyone is impatient. Blow urged Ren to hurry up so we wouldn't all die. She said loudly, where we want to go. Teleported, blue light appeared and teleported everyone away from there. And with a bang, the entire tower exploded in less than an hour. The surrounding trees also rustled their affected leaves. Inside the forest is a person controlling the matrix remotely. He folded his hands when he was done. The devilish smile on his lips and the beast on his shoulder. This is interesting. Is that right? After he finished speaking, he turned to the person on the tree stump. The magic stone was now floating inside her. That is Ruby Monter, another beast but with a face that is not gentle but like an angry kitten. What's interesting, she clicked her tongue. Just because of this petty thing, all the chaos was going on. She looked contemptuously at the magic stone in her hand. Then easily crush it to pieces like a piece of trash. Humans are truly ordinary creatures. It seems we can guess that this person is not human. It was a beautiful early morning, the morning sunlight shining down on the president's room. He picked up the report and gently put it down. The building was destroyed, the magic stone's whereabouts were unknown, and a bunch of monsters appeared from nowhere. Turmeric is whole, he smiled like there's nothing to worry about in life, just enjoy it. But his laughter was unfortunately not supported by Ren, who glared until his face burned. How can you still laugh now? He rolled his eyes to avoid it. No way, she said grumpily, but just asking to take off his pants, and having to go through all kinds of trouble to get back is really worth laughing at. Even so, I'm really lucky that the two of you returned safely. Ren shrugged and said irritably, I thought so too, honestly I didn't expect this either, he said with a laugh. Sighing helplessly, if he knew Shicmun was there, I would absolutely not send him there. Why did that guy have such an attitude towards Blow? Did he go to that extent just because he wanted to fight? Ren asked in confusion. He frowned, thinking about something. Originally, the father and son of that family had a little more blood in their brains than blood in their brains. I felt that the father and son of that family were really similar. Ren was a bit confused after hearing this but didn't ask again. The master continued, after a while, that friend's interest will naturally decrease, so until then, even though we are a bit resentful, we can only avoid him, so it turns out that the reason why he gave Blow strange tasks is also for that reason. Part of that is also I also want to let her rest a bit. He picked up the piece of paper and observed it attentively. No matter what I thought it was strange. I was a bit suspicious when they said they would put the high-level magic stone up for public auction. However, The summoning of a large number of monsters of unknown origin and the phenomenon of magic power disappearing in an instant are both problems that cannot be ignored. Ren added, the association and the magic tower will also be noisy, that's right. But to throw away a sloppy report like this and stay here writing every single word of failure, it's true that our rude style then disappears. Rude is currently sitting attentively studying the recent incident. As expected, there was no record of summoning demons at all. He read the book while thinking thoughtfully. It seemed difficult to find it in regular documents. While I was thinking, a waiter boy excitedly ran up to him. The drink he ordered had arrived. It's been a while since I last saw Mr. Rude, Ben, he smiled back. I haven't seen you lately. Is it because you're busy studying? Why do you carry so many books? The little boy asked him like a puppy that hasn't seen its owner for a long time. Because I was curious about a few things. The boy looked at the words and was amazed. It's so complicated. How can you read this so well? I didn't expect it. You're so smart. Now I know. He patted Ben's head and smiled. My sister said you should be humble as a human being. But it's really crowded today. You see, the restaurant is extremely bustling. No, it's not busy at all, because everyone was busy talking, so they didn't order anything. You've heard it too, right, about the powerful power of magicians? Ben asked innocently because he didn't know that Rude was a black magician. Hearing the strong phrase, he was stunned. Ben smiled and said, an extremely expensive magic stone appeared at the auction house held in Robbie, and evil magicians tried to steal it, but black magicians suddenly appeared and defeated all those evil magicians and saved everyone there. After hearing it, compared to the truth, it's a bit wrong, right? You're as cool as a gourd, Ben still said quickly. My sister also wants to become a powerful magician like a black magician, Ben grinned. Do you have a sister? Yes. My sister joined Helios this time, Ben proudly boasted. Helios is a school, right? Not an ordinary school. Helios is a place that everyone says is a wonderful place that only very, very special and wonderful people can join. I'm sad because I have to leave you, but I can't help it. I can write to you when I remember, Ben sighed and said. Mom told me not to send any more because it would bother your studies, but I've already sent you 10 letters. I told this story to Loin next door. Ben was engrossed in telling the story when someone called. He was startled and quickly went to work. Looks like I have to go. You have to study hard. He returned to the quiet space as if he were in his own world. The noisy space also distracted his concentration. He closed his eyes to concentrate on listening to what people were saying. His hearing began to become more sensitive. He could hear every word clearly. I heard that Shicmun won. Hey, I heard that the black magician saved the people there, and I heard that the explosion was a plot by the magic tower. Looks like the magic stone was swallowed by a guy called Cloak. Do you guys know the news? I heard that the black magician is a girl. After hearing this, his face turned pale and he quickly put his books away. There were all kinds of rumors spreading, but in reality, there was only one person who was responsible. But looking at the fact that there are no articles about monsters, is it possible that the magic tower was involved? That must be it, because the monsters that have appeared in the city are protected by the magic tower's barrier. If that's not the case, then maybe there's a problem with the magic tower's barrier. Thinking of this, he immediately dismissed that thought. No, if that's true, then there's no way the sea could be so calm. For now, I've already recorded the details of the magic circle I saw at that time. Can I get any clues from this? He folded the documents and decided to go to the master first before deciding. Outside the city right now, the atmosphere is extremely noisy, crowds everywhere. A young man wearing a white robe raised his head slightly, thinking something. Lisbon. He said his doubts. It seemed like there was chaos ahead, but it didn't seem like there was anything to worry about. Mr. Daner, are you really okay? He turned and said to the person sitting in the carriage. The woman inside calmly replied, I'm fine. How many more times are you going to ask? But, stop worrying in vain. Her eyes were a little sad, her voice was low. Listen clearly, if I can help that child even a little, then I can do whatever you want. Rude's side is currently holding a piece of paper and reading it very attentively. He kept reading and researching even though he knew clearly that even if he stared at it endlessly, there would be no answer. While he was frustrated, a gust of wind blew the paper out of his hand. He watched in bewilderment as it fell to the ground. He tried to chase after it, but the wind blew it upward. He panicked as he watched it fly away, then frantically ran after it. Where are you planning to fly to? That's why the paper just flew away, making him run to find it. In a corner of the city, a young man was being bullied. He said indignantly, give it back to me. I don't like it, I just picked up the discarded bag. The wedding party chuckled. The young man continued to insist. I told you several times that I wouldn't leave it there, but just leave it there for a while. Just return the bag and I won't make a fuss. The thug angrily grabbed the young man's collar. He glared threateningly. Even if you kneel down and beg, I'm not sure if I would give it back, so you dare to raise your voice at me? Think carefully. Whether the patrol arrived faster or the machine died faster, in the middle of speaking, Rude's paper flew and hit him in the face. He angrily threw the paper on the ground. He continued to threaten the other person. Anyway, your bag belongs to me now, so you better get out. Already dirty, Rude walked over to brush the dust off the paper. By the way, in his hand was the young man's bag. What is that, kid? Only then did his accomplices discover that his bag had been taken away. He quickly returned it to the other person. This is his bag, thank you, the other guy shouted. When did he take it away? You didn't bring it here, Rude replied indifferently, I just picked it up. Seeing an opportunity, that young man ran away. Hey, that guy stopped for me. The other guy angrily cursed and put him down. He's a rotten boy worrying about other people's money. They rely on the crowd to bully the weak. I have to teach them manners from head to toe. You guys are blocking the entrance for me. He lightly observed the group of people in front with disdain in his heart. They were magicians of the power system. They seemed to be the lowest of the low level. The other guy gritted his teeth and began to shake his hands to scare him. Hey kid, it seems you don't understand the rules of this world very well. As an adult, let me teach you an invaluable lesson. I don't want to do anything useless. You turn away and act like you don't know these people. So he decided to jump and run away. That person gasped when he saw the height he jumped. It's not jumping, it's actually flying out of that alley. Then, without controlling the speed, he rushed straight into the horse carriage on the road. Lisbon and Rude made eye contact. There was a loud noise that made the car shake. Daner found it strange. She gently glanced outside to see the situation. All the soldiers escorting the carriage looked bewildered. Rude calmly stood up. You feel like you did something that attracted too much attention from others. To make the atmosphere less awkward, if I'm not shy, the person who's shy is someone else. He smiled lightly. The carriage is very sturdy. The atmosphere immediately fell into dead silence. So he immediately jumped off the roof of the carriage. He immediately ran away. Everyone in the group was extremely bewildered. Lisbon suddenly turned his horse around and chased after him, so fast that his colleagues couldn't stop him. What's wrong with that kid? Standing there, the sharp sword was placed right next to his neck. He turned to look at the person pointing the sword at his neck, realizing how fast the speed was. Lisbon glared questioningly. Do you know whose carriage you just stepped on? Rude was silent for a moment, then replied, I don't know about that. But I'm sorry, if you bow down to avoid getting involved in messy things, then I'll be allowed to be a coward. I didn't know that this was the carriage of someone with such a noble status, and even in a force majeure situation, I shouldn't have done that, so I sincerely apologize for making you panic. I promise to pay attention next time, so can you forgive me this time? He asked with his lovely sparkling eyes. Suddenly feeling like he was the one committing the crime, Lisbon was stunned for a moment and said, okay. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly ran away. Yes, please let me go first. My colleague couldn't help but laugh and patted my shoulder. Apologize so well, why did you point your sword at a child like that? What a child, Lisbon said coldly. Falling from such a height but still being able to land safely, he noticed the group of people above looking down with surprised expressions. That's not something normal children can do, he said, frowning. But didn't Mr. Lisbon single-handedly defeat a lot of intermediate monsters at that age? I was very surprised at that time, my colleague teased. It seems that she is an outstanding talent with a bright future waiting for her. What do you think about taking this opportunity to raise a disciple? Responding to Lisbon's enthusiasm and sharp eyes. Daner also walked over and witnessed the whole thing. She smiled. It was really interesting. Mr. Daner, this child seems strong and intelligent, she commented. That's right, I think we should bring him back and recruit him to our team. Lisbon glared at him until his face burned. Then grabbed him by the head. Mr. Daner, are you injured anywhere due to the impact just now? I'm not asking too quickly, that carriage is definitely a gift. And the weather is so clear and we're almost at our destination, so I want to walk for a while, she replied, raising her head high and looking at the clear blue sky. As Mr. Daner wishes. Then everyone talked about something else for a while. Rude actually never ran far but stood nearby and observed, as expected. That person must be a noble, and that man has quite good abilities. Anyway, I'm lucky he let me go. He breathed a sigh of relief. In my head, I thought to myself, why do we always encounter such trivial things these days? Anyway, we probably won't see each other again. Unfortunately, there is a saying in life, avoid melon peel and coconut shell, the more you wish for something, God will arrange the opposite. The next second she was sitting in front of him, along with the two guards from just now. He was confused and didn't understand what the hell was going on. Besides that, the president's room is even more deadly. Why did the master call me here? I asked for permission to go out, but the master can keep it. No, this is the person who entrusted me, you have to sit and listen. Daner spoke up and asked first, who was that child? Yes, although he looks young and unremarkable, he is an outstanding talent of our Ophion. This guy really makes Rude want to punch the president several times. He looks quite young. If he's a member of Ophion then he's an official magician, right? The president nodded and said, he's already a senior, even though he's only a level 7 magician just starting out. But I can guarantee that he is the best among people his age. Rude has no idea what the hell this guy is talking about until now. Daner sipped his tea and replied, it seems like Ophion has a lot of hidden talents. There's a lot of buzz on the street about Ophion's black magic. I heard he's an excellent ability caster. This incident is indeed a bit noisy. How about, since I have arrived here, I want to meet the main character in the rumor once. The president cleverly made an excuse to refuse. This is such a pity, the black magician is already on a mission. So what's the matter? I can't help it, she seemed a bit regretful. Then she looked straight at the president to get to the main issue. She was rambling too much. We met again, boy, you were immediately stunned and didn't dare to respond. Both the president and he were as quiet as rice. Daner smiled teasingly, oh you didn't see me, I'm the owner of the carriage you fell into. The president turned to ask, why did the carriage fall on him? Rude tried to walk away as if he didn't know anything. Only she feels relieved, it seems this is also fate. She put down her teacup to express her gratitude. Master of Ophion, if it's this child, I'm quite satisfied. The president paused for a moment then replied. Thank you for your generosity, Princess Arann. Duchess, Rude was a bit surprised, his face also showed it because he himself had already guessed that she was a noble, but was she a member of the Duke's family? You begin the task you want to assign, so let's begin. Since you informed Ophion's master, you probably already guessed it but. The reason I came to this place on my own is because of my second child, the one who is in Helios. The master frowned and asked, so the Duke means the second prince? He didn't finish the sentence, but the hidden meaning in it was the idea of school violence. The Duchess nodded, simply put, my second son, is having difficulty adjusting to school life. Fran, call the guard in the back. The young man handed over a document saying, this is a document about Helios, along with a list of students and this is a report on the current situation. Rude thought to himself, Helios, I've heard that name countless times today. The Duchess expressed the pain in her heart, it's only been a month since he entered school and we still don't know what happened during that time. But right now my son is being called a monster, the master asked in surprise, who would have the audacity to call Arshon's second prince like that? This is a strange thing for a noble. The Duchess continued, not only my son had to suffer this situation, as you all know, once he steps into Helios, outsiders cannot interfere in the school's affairs and I cannot easily get him out of there. Her hand suddenly trembled when mentioning this, he was a weak, vulnerable and lonely child. Since childhood, he has always lived in the shadow of his brothers. Never received the love or support he deserved, I couldn't even give him the care he needed, now that I think about it. It has become so fragile that it cannot express the pain it endures. I just don't want him to be hurt anymore. Her words continued to sink in as if her heart was never going away. Most importantly, I cannot accept my son being treated like that in that place, I cannot allow this to continue. Her voice here begins to change, the determination of a mother determined not to sit around and watch her son suffer anymore. She looked straight at Master and Rude, my request is very simple. Please help my son have a peaceful school life in that place where he is suffering, please protect him. After the Duchess left, Rude turned around and asked the master what was wrong, now explain to me. The master pretended to be stupid and turned to look at him with an innocent face, but he jumped up, what, don't tell me you don't understand, I'm clearly asking about the ridiculous situation we're in. The master smiled brightly and calmly said, just as you heard, the Duchess made a request. And the one who did it was you. After hearing that, Rude just wanted to give this hateful guy a few punches. There's no way I'm kidding, wait, let's put that request aside, but I can't believe that you introduced me with this appearance, and there's also the matter of a level 7 mage, he angrily shouted at the master asking for an explanation. The master calmly said, so can I calmly say that, In fact, he is a black magician right in front of them. Just saying that you are an official magician is shocking enough with that appearance. Rude's mind is now an unspeakable jumble. Is he serious? He could not have introduced me in the first place. The master continued to look at the document report and sighed. Even though Helios is the most prestigious magic school, the students there are still only those who have not fully awakened. In turns, he scolded viciously, I never agreed to this. Haven't you received a report from Ren about the failed mission? We need to investigate what really happened there, that's why Master immediately stopped his mouth and interrupted, no need to worry about that anymore, I will take care of it, and you should focus on the mission. Rude opened the master file and saw the huge admission letter hitting him right in the face. He was speechless, his face completely gray. Are you kidding me? My anger has reached its peak now. Let me explain. Before he could say anything, he slammed the piece of paper straight at the master. Without any mercy or bitter words, this is the end of our relationship. Master was bewildered and didn't understand what was going on. Rude took his bag and left to prepare to find a new path. Thank you for everything. The past time was fun, but from now on I'm leaving Opion. Master called back again. What? Holding you tight until death doesn't let you go. You can't do that to me. I've invested so much in you, nurturing and taking care of you. That's exactly what I want to tell you. How can you decide everything without consulting me first? Master sighed and said, that's because I know for sure you won't agree. Rude struggled uncomfortably. Of course not. Why do I go to school? I told you this was a request. The master insisted on his decision. Rude stubbornly refused to die. I said I wouldn't do it. The master grabbed his hand tightly and said loudly, you still don't understand. My heart is as big as the ocean, and the only thing I want is to send you to school no matter what. Master started pretending to be the victim and started telling the story. Rude got goosebumps after hearing this. What's wrong with him? At this moment, Ren walked in and saw the two of them arguing and was confused. What were they doing? The master reminded, Ren, at least knock on the door before entering. I am discussing something extremely important. Rude glared at the master. Your head is important. Ren put his hands on his hips and gasped. It was you who didn't hear. I must have knocked on the door. Anyway, both of you, sit down now and don't embarrass the neighborhood anymore. Then after explaining for a while, Rude finally understood. It turned out that Ms. Ren also knew about this. His mood seemed to plummet. Rude, you don't need to be too nervous. Just think of it as going out to play for a bit. The students in there just look like children to you anyway, and the task the Duchess assigned isn't difficult at all. So just take this as an opportunity to rest a bit, enjoy school life and maybe even make friends with some people your age. So there's no loss, right? Rude was silent for a moment. After a while, I said a sentence that instantly froze the air. I don't need friends. Master sighed. Fine, if you really don't want to do it then you can't help it, even though the Imperial Duchess has personally come to Opion to entrust us with a special mission. Now it's okay to refuse, it's just. Maybe I'll lose my head. Should I write a will first? The master's negative emotions came rushing in. After hearing this, Rude remained speechless, feeling a bit ashamed. Add a few tears as the master's color, but that's fine, if that makes you comfortable. Before he could finish his sentence, Ren hit him. Stop talking nonsense. Rude, it's his fault that the master decided on his own without discussing it with you. Moreover, you will enroll in the school officially and it may take a long time. So the decision still has to be made by you. What do you want to do? Rude was silent for a moment and began to organize his thoughts. So the second son of the Duchess, I just need to help him, right? He asked openly. Hearing this, both were immediately stunned. Showing that he had agreed to this mission, the master and Ren excitedly said, of course, it's not difficult at all. You're Opion's brightest star, you're really good. They quickly packed up early. The academy uniforms are already prepared. Should we pack our luggage first? I've already prepared everything. Should I leave? Rude frowned and thought. Rude, even though I said you were a level 7 mage to the Duchess, the academy still doesn't know you're an officially awakened mage. Then I can't blow, that's true. But don't worry, there won't be anything dangerous. There are a lot of documents. He opened the documents continuously to review. The master continued to say, just be careful in front of the professors, because they are also official magicians. So that means this mission is also a vacation for the black magician. And also the first mission for Rude Krishi. He's really good at talking. Is the food good there? We need to arrange the clothes neatly by type. Ren turned around and asked, but how should I help that kid? Just punch his bullies. While thinking, he saw the image of a young man with messy hair and fierce eyes. The impression is too violent, don't tell me. He placed the photo under the table. Serious eyes asked, "Is this the person who is bullying the Duchess's second prince?" The master was made to fall into contemplation by the question, "Are not?" "It's not that he is, he is." Liduces Dean Arshan, who was suffering and being called a monster, was the second prince of Arshan. On a beautiful sunny, cloudy afternoon, the clouds began to cover up, revealing a bit of late afternoon sunlight. I'm not allowed to send letters," the boy asked in surprise. "Helios is very strict in checking goods from outside. We cannot accept it unless you have a certificate of authorization, but they are just letters." The person who received the letter refused. "I'm sorry, then where can you get the authorization certificate? If your sister studies here, you should know. Please ask your parents." The boy hesitated and said with sullen eyes, "No, my mother said not to send letters. Can't you just send letters like that?" The other girl awkwardly said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not." As soon as he finished speaking, Rude came and relieved him. "Here I have the authorization certificate. Please send these letters along with my bag," he said while patting the boy's head. The boy was happily surprised. "Really? Ben, your hand left the boy's head. Let me pass your letter to you." He smiled kindly at his little brother. That academy has an extremely large campus that feels like an entire city. It's early in the morning, so there are a lot of students going in and out. Everyone is whispering to each other right now. "Have you heard anything? That kid is coming today. The one who got a perfect score on the entrance exam." Well, everyone in the lecturers was surprised. "They are currently whispering about Rude. Everyone is wondering why you are just now going to school. But why is that guy just now coming? Everyone knows that he has a chronic illness. You have to be close to that guy. Will doing that help your grades go up?" Even though the other students talked a lot, there was a girl with white hair who always tried to study, but because it was too noisy. "What is our next class?" "Hey, Varus is sleeping again. Someone woke him up just now." Another group of girls were gossiping and selling cucumbers. "Look, I bought it yesterday when I went out. It's so beautiful." The whole class was talking loudly, then they suddenly fell silent and looked towards the classroom door. Everyone was immediately silenced, not daring to continue talking. That was the person Rude needed to help, the Duchess's second prince. He didn't say anything and just quietly pulled out his chair to sit. "Then sit down quietly." Everyone hesitated, not daring to say a word. There was an ungainly guy who suddenly blurted out the sentence, "Monster." The atmosphere in the class suddenly became quieter. The girl breathed a sigh of relief, finally quiet. There was a gloomy atmosphere surrounding the second prince. Reversing the rumors of Rude's perfect score and chronic illness, we returned to Rude's conversation with the master. He looked at the master in surprise. "What does it mean to have a perfect score and have a chronic disease? I mean, how can you get a perfect score when you've never seen the test before, and what about chronic illness?" He jumped up. The master worriedly looked at him, stammering an explanation. "You know my ability, that's how it turned out. Rude, you know, Helios's admission ceremony took place a month ago. Your admission letter was sent a month ago, so you should have gone to school by then. But you know what the situation was at that time. You don't know about it. Actually, I received the official document saying that I have to send you to high school." Rude was so angry with the master that he was foaming at the mouth and couldn't say a word. "Since when did he plan to send me to school?" The master continued, "So we need to find an excuse to delay admission, and it must be reasonable for Helios, and that's how you became a handsome boy with a weak genius." The master said with a straight face that it was true, without any guilt at all. "You think it's interesting, right?" the master happily boasted as if he had just accomplished a feat. And Rude was so mad that he rushed in and beat him up. "Why are you talking now?" Back to the present, someone called him by another name, studentcracy. The instructor asked, "Why are you suddenly so dumbfounded? Class is about to start. Come follow me." "Oh yes," he cursed in his head as he walked. "You failed, master. How can I continue my mission if I stand out like that?" If the admission letter was sent last month, he would have sent the application a long time ago. His eyes looked into the distance. Regardless of the mission, he still sent me to school. In his heart, he knew this would happen sooner or later. But he still couldn't understand what the purpose was. After thinking about it, he raised his head and looked at the academy. "This is Helios. Maybe because this is a magic school, I can feel the flow of mana in this place." He thought to himself, "Yes, I can complete the mission quickly and return as soon as possible." The teacher thought he was worried, so he kept reassuring him that even though the students here had different statuses and ages, getting to know them was not difficult. Everyone here was equal. "So what, you don't understand what the teacher wants to explain?" The teacher looked at him with cunning eyes and emphasized two words: "The important thing is your ability. Many new students coming here often feel extremely excited when imagining themselves becoming a future magician. As if it were obvious. But that's just a fantasy. Even if accepted into Helios, not everyone can become a magician. Most students cannot overcome their limits and then sink into despair. Speaking of this, he smiled meaningfully, wondering what would happen to me. The only person to get a perfect score so far, Recruitment. He remained silent, unable to say another word. He remained silent for a long time before he spoke, even when his efforts failed. Then I just need to hit it. Everyone will faint after hearing that sentence. Only the instructor laughed loudly. He laughed as if he had just heard a joke. You're quite interesting. Oh God, a perfect score will be so troublesome. Rude sighed in his head. The teacher added, Helios always welcomes talented people like you. Even though you started school a little later than other students, Recruitment, I respectfully welcome you to Helios. And it didn't take long for him to stand in front of the podium to the top class to welcome the other members, and the Helios Magic School. This is where people possessing different abilities. They feel and use magic and are taught to become true magicians. A little introduction. Each person's abilities are classified. The advanced class is Haze. Intermediate class is Clad. And the lower class is Eden. New students entering Helios will start from the lower class, and they will be promoted to the upper class through the annual promotion test. Just like what you were told. Now everyone, due to health reasons she had to join our class a little late, Recruitment. Don't ignore her just because she's late, and let's be close to each other. The other students nodded in agreement. Right now you are thinking about what is the right thing to say. So Recruitment, hello everyone, coming to the self-introduction segment. He took a step forward to get closer to everyone. To put it briefly, I hope to be close to everyone. Seeing that he didn't say anything else, everyone was bewildered. That's all. He was quiet. He looked even younger than me. I don't know how old he was. It turned out that he had been thinking all along to find out who the target to protect was. It didn't take long for him to find the so-called disgusting person, the second son of Duchess Arann. He looked down thoughtfully. It didn't take long for him to find the so-called disgusting person, the second son of Duchess Arann. He looked down thoughtfully. He didn't seem to pay attention to the new student's appearance but just unconsciously looked towards the board with lifeless eyes. There's a problem he's thinking about, but why is he sitting there, lost and alone? So Recruitment, please sit in that empty seat over there. Yes. From the moment he entered the classroom until he found his seat, he never looked away and asked Arann to judge the situation. Although he didn't look very fragile or weak, he was really hurt by people calling him a monster. So why was he called a monster? Well, let's grasp the situation first. After thinking about it, you sit down at the table. First take some time to observe. While I was thinking, someone whispered, hello. Nice to meet you. You got a perfect score on the entrance test, right? That means you're a scholar. How old are you? I'm 17. When Rude saw someone suddenly starting a conversation, he was a bit awkward and not quite used to it. He answered awkwardly, I'm 15. The guy at the table above smiled brightly. As expected, he was younger than me. My name is Dio Varus. You can just call me Dio. Okay, Dio laughed freely. No need for honorifics. Here, everyone in the same class is friends. Age doesn't matter. Dio Varus, the teacher reminded him, making him startled. The person who ranked first from the bottom in the test, wanting to get close to Chris is something I can sympathize with, but gossiping is not a priority. The whole class immediately burst into laughter, making him shyly turn away. He sighed. Now his priority was not to attract any attention. He once again turned his eyes to Arshon's corner. For now, just quietly observe, he thought to himself. As soon as class ended, the students started asking him all sorts of questions. Are you Rude Recruitment? Can I call you Rude? Where are you from? Do you have a private tutor? Rude complained in his head with 1,001 questions about why he was in this situation. He thought that even though he was attached to the strange barrier of being someone who scored a perfect score on a test and had a chronic illness, as long as he remained silent, there would be no problems at all. It was completely wrong that there were almost as many students coming to ask him questions as there were people. Some even asked about his illness, but why were these people so curious about him? Break time is also crowded with people. When it was time to move, the people following him also formed a line. You were so sad that you couldn't say a word, because it was your first day. That's right, that's why it was your first day at school. Seeing your sad face, everyone was concerned. What's wrong with you? Where does it hurt? Dio is now coming to relieve him. Everyone get out of the way. This coward has been given the responsibility of introducing the school to him. Professor Hale will give it to you, then I'll go too. Me too, Don't make fun of me, this is an exclusive mission that I fought hard to receive. While everyone was making noise, he quickly turned to the side to look. Seeing Varshan disappear like a gust of wind. Where are you going? While thinking, Dio grabbed his shoulder. Then he smiled friendly and pushed him away. So let's go together, friend. Since when have you been a friend? Rude was puzzled in his mind. The weather is very nice today, suitable for sightseeing. Dio kept talking non-stop. Our school is super big, so the first time you might get lost, but if you walk around for a few days you will quickly get used to this place. For Rude, it's probably not a big deal, I can call you Rude. Rude only responded briefly. The first time I came to this place, I was so scared, you probably already know, but if you're not a noble, it's really difficult to step foot in this place, but after being accepted, I thought all the difficulties were over and happiness had just begun. But what happiness? It's no different from real life. He held his head and thought sadly. Rude, you're so amazing because you're the first person to get that perfect score, the complete opposite of me, I'm just lucky. After listening, Dio's little heart also wanted to ask for help. You are also lucky. Dio heard this sentence and was bewildered, not understanding anything. Rude fucks you, there are only a few new students, but you're the one who got the last spot, it's really not everyone who can do that. After hearing this, Dio's brain seemed to stop working. Hey, don't say things like that with that serious expression, you're cursing me, right? Cursing because I'm bottom of the class right now? Rude chuckled softly, no way. The two quickly entered an extremely spacious room that was very familiar to all academies. This is the place we have to go to most often, the Helios Library Center. It's quite big, Dio proudly boasted, right, there are as many documents as the size of this place. You see that, the magic ball, on every student's desk there is one, Dio explained. That's right, the soundproofing magic is maintained by that magic ball. When we sit in it, all outside noise is blocked, helping us to focus on reading more. Thanks to that I can now talk comfortably. You think it's great, right? Rude noticed that there are also a lot of magic balls. The maintenance fee must be quite expensive. The library is divided into 4 floors, but currently we can only use the first floor. Why? Is it the sadness of the lower class? At this time, a call rang out from upstairs. Hey, over there was the guy with dark blue hair. You're in Professor Hale's class, right? The blonde guy asked bossily. Yes, that's right, Dio scratched his head and smiled. On the blonde-haired man's sleeve was the pattern of the senior class. Of course Rude also noticed. He bent down and said loudly, I think I've seen this before. There is a monster in your class, right? His tone is full of provocation and ridicule. Dio timidly said, yes. So why is that a pity? He smiled softly. Then immediately turn around and leave, then continue with your work. Dio held his head in pain and lamented, I thought my heart would fall out. What do you have to be afraid of because it's an advanced class? After hearing that, Dio was as bewildered as a golden deer. My friend sighed and explained, young soul who has not yet tasted the taste of true class division, what are you talking about? Dio held Rude's shoulders tightly. The tone was extremely serious, different from before. From now on I will tell you stories filled with tears and blood to help you overcome this dangerous Helios school, so please listen carefully. The first thing is not to compete with the senior class, my friend emphasized very carefully. Because those people are talented people who possess outstanding talents and abilities that are recognized by the whole school, the total number is less than 20 people. But they have such outstanding ability and power that they can compete 1 against 100 people from our Eden class. If they were discovered to be against that rule, their normal school life would end on that day. Rude didn't waver at all, he just felt ridiculous. Even so, they were still just a few unawakened children, right? Initially, the total number of students was more than 400 people, but the number of Harak was only that many people. Their distance from us was like stars in the sky. Rude interrupted and asked, so what is the second thing? Dio leaned close to his ear and whispered, among those people, be careful of the person named Chevelle von Hotelio. Who is that person? Rude calmly asked, that blonde-haired person from before. Dio reminded him that he is a notable character recently. If you meet him, it is a good policy to avoid meeting him. Normally, it is not always possible to meet Harris, but if you do meet him, avoid it, because despite his great ability, his personality is a bit. Rude slapped his face, rotten. Dio panicked and quickly covered his mouth. What if someone hears? Listen seriously, because this is something you need to know. Dio glanced sideways, afraid that someone would hear what they were talking about. He was especially famous among Harris as the successor to the prestigious Marquis Hotelio, perhaps due to his family status, so even the professors could not touch him casually, so if he targeted someone, he would bully that person to death. If you make a mistake, your hellish life will officially begin from that day. It's best for you to be careful unconditionally, Dio specifically reminded. Rude raised his eyebrows and asked in wonder, but what about that monster? You'll find out sooner or later, but this is a prime example of what the consequences would be if you were targeted by Helios. He spoke a little more clearly. Before he could finish his sentence, Dio quickly grabbed his neck and pulled him away. Let's stop that boring story, there are still many places to visit, my friend, let's go to the next place, so you hastily pulled Rude along. Next, he introduced the outside campus. There is also a place in the school that sells magic support items. Then there are the different rooms. Dio kept talking and thinking without stopping. They left in the morning. Until late afternoon. Rude is currently preparing to hand over the dormitory. His whole body was exhausted and out of breath. Hey, this isn't supposed to introduce the school, it's more of an exploration. That kid had only been here a month but he knew so much, he remembered Dio taking him around the school all day. The dormitory manager came to him while he was thinking, if he studied the same way, maybe he wouldn't be last. She smiled brightly and said, sorry to make you wait for so long. Your name is Rude Krishi, right? Your luggage has arrived today, so for now, please use this room temporarily until you choose a suitable room. My room hasn't been decided yet. She continued, that's right, except for the advanced class, this place has regulations that only 2 people are allowed per room. The current class doesn't have a suitable place so it needs to be adjusted a bit, maybe a decision will be made within the next 2 to 3 days, so there's no need to worry anymore. You immediately suggested yourself, isn't there still a vacant spot? The teacher was stunned, not understanding what he meant. Liduces Dean Arshan, I heard that this guy is living alone in a room. Finally his goal was achieved. He looked at the fateful key in his hand. There are thoughts running through his brain. He remembered the shy look on her face when she gave him the key. Okay, since you asked, I will agree, if you change your mind later, remember to come back here. I had a hard time convincing him, he thought to himself. So he started by knocking on the door first, so he went directly to meet the main character of this mission. But no one opened the door, no one was in the room. Rattling, the sound of the door opening rang out. This academy's rooms are extremely large with many majestic amenities. From the bed to the desk, everything is neat and clean, proving one thing that the people in this room know how to keep. The room for 2 people was so spacious, it was so luxurious, he looked sideways and looked around for a while. He discovered that there was someone lying on the bed. He watched attentively without saying anything. Hey, could it be that he's sleeping? No, but he's already asleep, he's not a baby anymore, he's bored and doesn't bother to say anything. He immediately opened the blanket. On the bed is a young man sleeping quietly like an angel. Sleeping so peacefully, in the current situation, you can still sleep comfortably like that, Rude admired in his mind. He put his hands on his armpits and decided to wait to see if he woke up. So bored, he turned around and went to unpack his luggage first. Diane then slowly woke up. His eyes opened wide in surprise when he saw Rude. Rude felt someone looking at him so he turned his head. Diane was so scared that she closed her eyes. Rude decided not to take any action. Time quickly passed until evening. Moonlight covers the entire academy. The flickering light from the chandelier brightens the hallway a little. A strange voice rang out, calling me out like this would make me feel awkward, I also have my own problems. You also know that I need some time to avoid the tower's eyes and ears. The blue-haired young man was suddenly startled. Of course, my contract is certain if you give me a little more time. You see in the room the professor is bowing his head and talking to someone. So without thinking, he rushed straight inside and hurriedly said, Professor Hale, what's going on? Professor Hale pretended like nothing happened, carefully adjusted his glasses and asked, what's wrong? Just now I saw the shadow, the young man stammered and asked. It was clear that the shadow was black, and sure enough, above his head was something black covered in dark colors. He was startled and quickly turned around. And so his life ended because of that. Professor Hale calmly raised his glasses, the contract must be fulfilled. Another beautiful day begins at Helios Academy. Just early in the morning, Rude woke up. He stared at the ceiling. I slept so soundly, seriously, the birds flying outside were chirping to wake me up. As soon as I turned to the next bed, I saw that Diane was gone. As expected, I wouldn't see him. When did he go out? No matter how hard I tried to talk to him yesterday, He pretended to be asleep until the end. Should we spend a little more time in the same room together? His vigilance is higher than I thought, but it seems like everyone here wakes up early. When he looked outside, he saw many students. But the strange thing is people's attitudes. Everyone simultaneously looked towards him with excited and confused expressions. Rude still doesn't understand anything. Have you heard it too? The new friend in Mr. Hale's class, the one who got a perfect score on the entrance exam this time. Sharing a room with that monster, could it be Harris? Not from what I heard. That's what he wanted. Rude is currently having a headache with a difficult plan. Just because I'm in the same room, those people react so violently. The situation is more serious than I thought. It seems like the goal that didn't attract attention is gone. We have to quickly step up and solve the problem. He is standing on high observing.